Masters of the Universe. Castle Grayskull under attack. In his lair in the heart of Snake Mountain, Skeletor, Lord of Destruction, eagerly studied an ancient stone tablet. His eyes blazed as he read the carved letters.
At last!
He cried in triumph.
The secret of the ancient Eternians! I will tap the power of the planet itself! Not all the strength of Castle Grayskull can stop me!
In the sulphurous cavern below the mountain, Skeletor put his slaves, the Skelcons, to work to construct a machine which would tap the power of Eternia and convert it to energy of untold strength. Under the threat of their lord's energy blade, the Skelcons quickly completed their task. A mammoth power shield projector. Towering on its 3 telescopic legs, Skeletor's creation gleamed in the glare of the Skelcon's forge.
Now we shall see who rules Eternia!
Cried Skeletor, as the Skelcons swarmed over the machine to prepare it for action. Far from Snake Mountain, in a wide clearing of the evergreen forest, stood Castle Grayskull. The grim battlements dominated the land for many leagues round, as far as the hills which rimmed the clearing and the beginning of the forest. In the castle's council chamber, Tila and Stratos, Lord of the Air, were in deep discussion. Only by constant vigilance were the two able to hold at bay the forces of evil which daily threatened the people of Eternia, for Heman was away and could not help. They were especially worried over a report by Stratos that swarms of sea people, led by their lord, Merman, were making their way towards the mouth of the River Doom. The river flowed near Castle Grayskull, and it was not in the nature of Merman to pay friendly calls. Making a powerful video lens with his energy blade, Skeletor spied on the council chamber just as Tila sent out a call for Heman to come to their aid.
Let him come!
He snarled.
They and their precious castle are finished!
Skeletor now summoned his ally, Merman, to assemble with his army of sea people beyond the hills where the River Doom flowed out through a narrow gorge. And while they swam and slithered and squelched their way upstream, the Skelcons dragged Skeletor's power shield projector overland to the meeting place. The red sun of Eternia was setting when Skeletor stood on a hilltop and gazed towards the castle. A few lights showed in the gathering dusk, and after a time, they went out.
Sleep sound!
Laughed Skeletor.
Against the swarming hordes of the ocean, you have no chance! For I will create an ocean just for them, to bring them to your very threshold. And you need not think that all your clever toys will be of the slightest help. I have the power to stop any mechanical device.
Under cover of darkness, the Skelcons started to set up the projector beside the river where the hills would hide it from the castle, until it was too late. In his other guise of the weakling Prince Adam, Heman was at the palace of Eternia talking to his mother, the Queen. When Tila's cry for help reached him, he left the palace and raised his sword.
By the power of Grayskull!
He cried, and became Heman. Within minutes, he was with his friends at the castle. Just before dawn, the Skelcons got the power shield projector into position. The probe was poised to drill down through the planet's crust to the energy core far below. A final check, and the machine hummed into life. The twisting probe drilled into the rock. The tripod vibrated with energy, and the projector module on top began to glow with flickering light. The projector module rose on its elevator stem until it topped the hills. Nothing lay between it and Castle Grayskull. The glow of the projector pulsations increased, and waves of power sped invisibly out to ring the castle. Within a few moments, Castle Grayskull was enclosed in an unseen bubble of power.
Now, for the second part of my plan.
gloated Skeletor. At his command, a slimy band of sea people led by Merman emerged from the river, each carrying a zero-energy weapon. At the spot where the River Doom flowed into the gorge, Merman stationed his sea people. Then, at a signal, each aimed his zero-energy weapon at the water. Brilliant green bolts of zero energy flashed from the weapons, and ice crystals began to form in the water, slowing its flow and then stopping it completely as it froze from side to side. As the water piled up behind the ice, the sea people poured more and more and more zero energy into the river until a huge ice dam filled the gorge from one side to the other. Upstream, the river water rose above its banks and flooded onto the land. Soon the river itself was out of sight, and the waters lapped about the very walls of Castle Grayskull. Now the creatures of the ocean swarmed through the flood, ready to seize any living thing that might try to escape from the castle. He-Man was roused from sleep by the cry of a lookout. Hurrying to the ramparts, he looked where the man pointed. But it was still dark, and there was nothing to see.
"I heard a sound,"
said the sentry.
"It wasn't a footstep. It wasn't a wheel. It seemed to come from all sides at once."
As the sun rose and light poured over the landscape, it became plain that this was no ordinary attack by an enemy over land. The lapping waters were filled with every kind of sea horror, ready to attack with teeth, claws, and tentacles. He-Man leapt into battle ram, but the controls clicked uselessly. His power blade was dead, as was Teela's power scepter.
With my super strength, I might just fight my way through to dry land,
said He-Man.
But the ordinary people of the castle would be helpless. Already the water has reached the drawbridge. Unless we can find a way of fighting back before the water rises much further, we are doomed.
At noon, the water reached halfway up the walls of Castle Grayskull. Only the drawbridge, held tight by its neutralized mechanism, kept the flood from entering. Evil sea creatures clawed at the stones and reached up with writhing tentacles.
We are in the grip of some kind of power shield,
said He-Man.
Everything mechanical is jammed, but we are not affected. And the enemy can penetrate right up to our walls. If there was a way, a man could also break through and seek help.
If only we had weapons that used natural power,
said Teela. Man-at-arms might devise something, said Stratos. The power shield may not extend overhead. If I can penetrate it, I can bring help. Without another word, Stratos soared straight up from the ramparts, braced for impact with the power shield. For an instant, Stratos was enclosed by a blue glow. A sharp electrical tingle went through his body. Then he was through the power shield and into the open sky. Far below was the helpless castle. But farther off, he could now see the great ice dam that held back the waters of the River Doom. High above Eternia, a mere speck in the sky and unnoticed by Skeletor and his people, Stratos sped with all the air power he could summon up to find Man-at-Arms, armorer to the masters of the universe. The sun was low in the sky when Stratos spiraled to the ground at the palace of Eternia. Man-at-Arms came to greet him, and he spoke his urgent message. Castle Grayskull was under siege, and only Man-at-Arms could save it. When Stratos had finished his story, Man-at-Arms looked thoughtful.
Whatever weapon I can devise for Castle Grayskull must not rely on mechanical power. It must be done swiftly before the waters rise much more. And it must be done secretly, so that the enemy has no time to produce a counter-weapon.
The sun shone through the power shield, said Stratos.
Of course,
cried Man-at-Arms.
Solar energy. It requires no mechanism. And you say that Skeletor has blocked the river with a great mass of ice? Then we'll use a solar cannon. As long as the sun shines, it will be all-powerful. Now, you must rest, and I and my people have much work to do.
At a touch, the wall at the back of the room slid silently to one side, revealing the entrance to the workshop, where Man-at-Arms and his servants, the Nerlins, produced incredible weapon systems. All that night, the following day, and well into the next evening, the Nerlens labored under the guidance of man-at-arms. From bronze, they fashioned a great cup-shaped mirror, polished to a dazzling brilliance to catch every ray of sunlight. They quarried masses of quartz from the mountain, which would filter the sun's rays and extract the last particle of energy. And from deep in the underground caves of Eternia, the Nerlens brought dazzling pieces of crystal to form the lenses which would direct the power of the sun onto its target. All this Stratos watched with awe, but conscious all the time that the waters were still inching their way up the defenses of Castle Grayskull. He watched as the Nerlens completed the assembly of the solar cannon. Then the cannon was hoisted up to hang below man-at-arms' hovering wind raider.